Yo, what's up? Don't mind me. I'm sick. I know I said I wasn't gonna upload, but I just be feeling bad when I don't upload for y'all. Yeah, you could probably hear it in my voice. But this topic is about. It says how Bill Cosby ruined his career. Before we get into the video, honestly, I be kind of skeptical in these situations just for the simple fact that why be taking the people to come out like years and years and years and years later? Like, what be going on behind closed doors that make them just come out years and years later? Like, if there was never no case, nobody never got paid off, like nothing of that nature. R. Kelly situation, that was different. He paid the family off. I never heard Bill Cosby doing nothing of that nature. All I heard was him wanting to buy something. Next thing you know, everything went left. But I could be giving out wrong information, so let's get into this video.
Here presents Bill Cosby.
Hello, friend.
How did Bill Cosby go from a highly celebrated and respected actor in Hollywood to one of the most disgraced actors in the world?
Bill Cosby is spending his first night behind bars.
This is the tragic story of Bill Cosby's fall from grace. America's Dad. The Cosby Show was a staple in many American homes between 1984 and
Facts.
1992. Practically everyone watching this video has watched the show or heard about it at some point. Seeing as it was so popular among Americans, it ranked as the #1 show from 1985 through 1989. Bill Cosby played the role of Cliff Huxtable, the comical yet wise patriarch of the upper middle class Huxtable family. He runs, ironically, a successful OB/GYN practice with his office annexed to his home. He may have portrayed caring relationships with the women on screen, but that was anything but. Dr. Heathcliff is funny, adventurous, caring, gentle, and well-respected in the community. He is the ideal image of a father, complete with an adorable habit of always trying to eat junk food whenever he can get away with it. It makes sense that, given the popularity of the show, viewers would ascribe certain characteristics of Dr. Heathcliff to Bill Cosby, the father figure image. In addition, Cosby was seen in the Black community as a person to look up to. His successful stand-up career motivated many Black kids and youth to pursue a career in that field. In fact, many comedians like Chris Rock looked up to him right from when they were kids. Now imagine the shock people felt when the assault accusations against Cosby started to come to light. For many, it shattered the conception.
What did y'all think when y'all seen all these articles and everything else about Bill Cosby? I automatically thought it was false just because the R. Kelly one came out at the same time, so I felt it was weird. That's just my opinion on it.
That Cosby was this noble man to be looked up to in society. Cosby had been placed on this pedestal, this high level of respect he earned through decades of sheer talent. And all of a sudden, the world was seeing America's dad for what he truly was. Not the father they had come to love and respect, but rather a wolf in sheep's clothing, preying on innocent young women who crossed his path. But how did he get there? Early life. Bill Cosby was born in Philadelphia in 1937 to Anna Pearl, a maid, and William Cosby, a mess steward in the U.S. Navy. He was a bright child while growing up. At Mary Channing Wister Public School, he was the class president and captain of the basketball and track and field teams. Still, young Cosby enjoyed joking around in class rather than studying, and he took pride in it, often referring to himself as the class clown. As he progressed to Fitzsimmons Junior High School and then Philadelphia's Central High School, he continued to participate in sports and was active in the drama club. He would eventually flunk out of school after failing the 10th grade. As a young boy, Cosby's life was not easy. When he was 8, his younger brother James died
Hold
of
on.
rheumatic.
Didn't the same thing happen with Chris Rock, and then he went on to comedy and Everybody Hates Chris, if I'm not mistaken.
Fever at the tender age of 6. As if that wasn't enough tragedy for his family to deal with, Cosby's father started struggling with alcoholism. With all this going on, Cosby, as the first child, had to step into shoes too large for his 8-year-old feet to support the family. He started shining shoes and working at supermarkets to help the family get by. Luckily, his mother's strictness kept him from the streets and made him responsible. But the burden on Cosby would only increase after his parents divorced. Cosby enlisted in the Navy in 1956, working as a hospital corpsman at several naval medical centers in the U.S., and doing physical therapy for the Navy and Marine Corps who were injured during the Korean War. By 1960, he had advanced to the position of a petty officer 3rd class before leaving the Navy. Through all this, Cosby remained active in sports. He took correspondence courses and acquired a high school equivalency diploma, and then got into Temple University in 1961 through a track and field scholarship. He studied physical education in college while playing fullback on the school's football team and running track. While in college, Cosby picked up some part-time jobs. One of them was bartending at a Philadelphia club, where he used to earn bigger tips for making customers laugh. He would later drop out of university to pursue a career in comedy. America's Villain. We go back to Cosby's early days as a stand-up comedian to trace his acts of assault over multiple decades, ultimately leading to his fall from grace. His first accuser was Christina Rulli, who spoke about her time working at his Los Angeles talent agency in her early 20s in 2014. At the time, she was 71 years old, and many decades had passed, but the wounds remained raw. She explained how Cosby invited her to a party, only for her to get there and find she was the only guest, and his wife was conveniently out of town. She claimed to have had only 2 drinks that night. She woke up to find herself assaulted.
I remember that the second drink was strong, and everything just went black. I can't even remember getting dizzy or sick.
2 short years later, Cosby moved to the Incredible Hulk, Lou Ferrigno's future wife, Carla. Carla was 17 then, single.
I don't know why. I still feel like that's cap. I'm not trying to defend him at all, but I still feel like that's cap, bro. Still feel like that's cap.
And working as a Playboy bunny in Los Angeles. Cosby invited her to the movies, curiously with his wife, Camille, in tow. At some point, Cosby's wife mysteriously disappeared, leaving Cosby with Carla. It was at that point that Cosby forced a kiss on her. According to her, the experience left her feeling violated. Accusations after accusations kept piling on Cosby in the year 2014. As Chris Rock, who once looked up to Cosby, would note, 2014 was a weird year for comedy. We lost Robin Williams, we lost Joan Rivers, and we kind of lost Cosby. Cosby's part of the weirdness was instigated by another comedian, Hannibal Buress. Buress was doing a set in Philadelphia in 2014 when he referenced assault without consent allegations against Cosby. Now, at this point, these accusations were out there already. They just weren't in the public's consciousness. When Buress made his comments and urged the crowd to look them up, he opened a can of worms that would rapidly eat through Cosby's legacy until it all came crashing down like a house of cards. Yet, Buress has never shown any interest in taking credit for exposing Cosby. To him, he wasn't doing any feminist heroic act, he was just doing his set. He expressed as much to GQ in 2015, saying, "People are going to put you on whatever they want to put you on. It is conflicting because people think I'm this amazing guy or something. I'm a decent guy." But whether Buress likes the title or not, he was the one that blew the whistle on Cosby and made the world see him for who he really is. And he did it through the medium that first made Cosby a star, stand-up comedy. In 2015, the New York Times obtained lawsuit depositions from 2005 and 2006, where the increasingly notorious TV dad admits to luring women without consent. The tapes were from a lawsuit where he was accused of doing these things to a certain girl. They feature him having lengthy conversations with attorneys in a Philadelphia hotel room. In the tapes, he denies being a predator, but admitted he was someone who used a combination of fame, apparent concern, and powerful sleep-inducing substances in a calculated pursuit of young women. But that wasn't the
See, I never heard about that. I never heard about that. I don't even know how to feel. I never heard about that.
worst part. Cosby went further to claim he had stopped drinking since he was 16, and he didn't use the powerful drugs he always had on hand because they supposedly made him tired. Yet he often brought powerful sleep-inducing substances as part of his shameless escapades. He claimed the women often used them consensually. According to Cosby, he had those substances with him to offer them to women, the same as a person would, say, have a drink. Cosby had considerable influence and power as a celebrity, and he did not hesitate to use it to force women into his selfish exploits. As the Times put it, Cosby was not above seducing a young model by showing interest in her father's cancer. He promised other women his mentorship and career advice before pushing them for intimate acts, and he tried to use financial sleight of hand to keep his wife from finding out about his serial philandering. Somehow, everyone had missed some of these allegations that had been out there for almost a decade. But once the public became aware of them, the floodgates opened. In February 2015, two former models came to the Los Angeles Times to share their experiences with Bill Cosby. One of them narrated that while she was with him, she felt like a rag doll and a real-life tool for him. She had met Cosby through a modeling agency in the late 1960s. She ended up in a hotel room with him where he made a drink for her. Soon after drinking,
I just feel like with this situation, it'd be like, why now? Like, why not in the time period that it actually happened? Like, why years later? Like, that'd just be my point on the whole situation. That's what makes it look weird and like a lie.
she lost consciousness. Cosby then took advantage of her. By July of that same year, many women had come forward to different media outlets. They all had one thing in common. At some point, they had been victims of Bill Cosby's assault and harassment.
I remember being humiliated, disgusted. I had revulsion towards Cosby, and Cosby was a very powerful man.
One of them said that Cosby reached out to her because he was interested in mentoring promising young talent. He poured her a drink as they ran lines, and she recalls he said, "Use this as a prop. Now, that means you're going to have to sip on it, of course." Her next clear memory is waking up feeling violated. In November 2014, a former NBC employee told the New York Daily News that he paid off 8 women on Cosby's behalf. Over the years, he had sent them thousands of dollars in money orders.
See, I never heard none of that. Never heard about none of that. I honestly never did. But we're going to keep going.
To keep them quiet. Unfortunately for Cosby, the truth cannot remain hidden forever. Andrea Constand. Andrea Constand is a former Temple University employee who worked as the director of operations for the university women's basketball team. In 2004, she accused Cosby of assaulting her at his home in Cheltenham Township, Montgomery. Shortly after the accusation, she resigned from her position and moved back to her hometown in Canada. But leaving the U.S. did not put enough distance between her and her trauma. By January 2005, a flashback would trigger the memory of her assault. Andrea would subsequently file a police report with the Durham Regional Police outside Toronto, which would spark a criminal investigation into Bill Cosby. A month after the investigation began, Montgomery County District Attorney Bruce Castor Jr. issued a press release announcing his decision not to prosecute Cosby criminally. Andrea then filed a civil lawsuit against him, including depositions from other women who claimed to have been assaulted by Bill Cosby, and listed them as potential witnesses. The lawsuit was eventually settled for $3 million, but the case did not die there. In 2017, 3 years after Hannibal Buress's infamous stand-up set, 81-year-old Bill Cosby stood trial for the assault of Andrea Constand. As the case progressed, the jury remained deadlocked, unable to reach a verdict, which resulted in a mistrial. Prosecutors and the victims were utterly disappointed with the turn of events. So by 2018, the prosecutors retried the case. This time, the jury found Cosby guilty of assault with lack of consent and assault after impairing the victim with an intoxicant, among others. A large percentage of Cosby's victims were white. When the Sirius XM host Michael Smirkonis found out, his response was, "I just truly believe that some of it may very well be that." After being found guilty, Cosby received a 3 to 10-year sentence, which might have translated to him spending the rest of his life behind bars. At
Basically,
82,
he
Bill
80
Cosby
he
was
80
labeled
something
a
years old.
sexually violent predator by CNN. It was a day of victory for Constand and his other victims. As Constand's attorney, Gloria Allred, put it, the victims were glad that Judgment Day has finally come for Mr. Cosby. Aside from the criminal charges, Cosby faced legal issues on another front. He was facing a defamation lawsuit from other women who Cosby had accused of lying when they came forward to share their stories. The women's accusations spanned decades and had exceeded the statute of limitations, but Cosby still had to settle them for defamation. Cosby's home insurance company, American International Group, AIG, handled the settlement, whose terms were not disclosed to the public. However, a spokesperson for Cosby, Andrew Wyatt, would later announce that Cosby did not settle the case and AIG acted without his knowledge and consent. He said Mr. Cosby vehemently denies the allegations brought against him in these defamation suits, and he maintains his innocence. Unrepentant. Bill Cosby may have fallen from grace with dozens of witnesses and a ton of evidence against him, but he will be the last to admit he was ever wrong. He has shown no interest in repenting. In fact, he believes he is being set up by people with political motives who want
Probably
to
that's
ruin
how I
his
felt
career
about it.
and legacy. In 2019, Black Press USA interviewed him from behind bars.
Exactly what he said is how I felt about it. I felt like it's just people trying to set him up and tear down his career. For what reason, I don't know.
And his responses showed no remorse. He remained defiant, painting himself as a victim of a witch hunt. He said, "When I come up for parole, they're not going to hear me say that I have remorse. I was there. I don't care what group of people come along and talk about this when they weren't there. They don't know. Everybody but Bill Cosby is the villain in his downfall." He went off about the ineffectiveness of the justice system, saying it's all a setup. That whole jury thing, they were imposters. He blamed the jury for pretrial bias, claiming they were on to some conspiracy. "This thing is political. I can see the whole thing," he said. And in true victim fashion, he claimed he was not broken by the ordeal as he was a privileged man in prison. Aftermath. Pennsylvania's Supreme Court overruled Bill Cosby's conviction in June 2021 when it was revealed that a previous prosecutor had promised not to charge him on statements he gave in a related civil case. According to the court, subsequent district attorneys were bound by this pledge, even though it was not put in writing. So, after serving only 3 out of the proposed 10-year sentence, part in the Montgomery County Correctional Facility and part in the SCI Phoenix in Skippack Township, Pennsylvania, 83-year-old Bill Cosby was, once again, a free man. It is unlikely that Bill Cosby will ever face prosecution for the assault cases against him since the statute of limitations has since expired. This is not to say the case hasn't had any impact at all. It has moved legislators to change those statutes of limitations in some states. Support for Bill Cosby. Through the accusations and drama, the women in Bill Cosby's life stuck to his side firmly. His wife, Camille, spoke about the drama for the first time in December 2014. "The man I met and fell in love with and whom I continue to love is the man you all knew through his work," she said in a statement. "A different man has been portrayed in the media over the last 2 months. It is the portrait of a man I do not know." Cosby's co-star on The Cosby Show, Felicia Rashad, who played the role of Dr. Huxtable's wife, Claire, was ecstatic about Bill Cosby's release. Cosby's daughter, Ensa, was one of his fiercest defenders. Shortly before he went on trial in 2017, Ensa went on a Breakfast Club interview and said, "The man portrayed in the media today is not who my father is. The accusations against my father have been one-sided since the beginning." She declared that the primary reason behind the entire fiasco was bigotry, and she despised the idea that younger family members would have to see Cosby's name splashed all over the media and internet in such a bogus scandal. Ensa, a yoga instructor, was approaching middle age when she made those statements. She would subsequently begin experiencing kidney issues and suddenly pass in 2018. She is buried next to her brother, Ennis, at Cosby's Massachusetts compound. Ennis had been shot and killed in 1997 while changing a flat tire on the side of Interstate 405 in Los Angeles. There was no apparent motive behind the attack, even though a 19-year-old Ukrainian immigrant named Mikhail Markazev was arrested and sentenced to life in prison for the shooting. Some say it was a robbery gone wrong, but Ennis still had his Rolex watch on him, and three $20 bills were found in his pocket. Bill Cosby has had a lot of tragedy in his life, but for some, this is not enough reason for him to be exonerated of his crimes. Naturally, not everyone was happy about his release and what it signified for victims of abuse in general. The assault survivor advocacy group, Time's Up, condemned the news in a statement. The semblance of justice these women had in knowing Cosby was convicted has been completely erased with his release today. With all these controversies, Cosby's career took a severe hit that it will never recover from. Several organizations cut ties with him, and many of his awards were revoked. In November 2014, he had to resign as honorary co-chair of the University of Massachusetts at Amherst's Capital campaign. The following month, he resigned from Temple University's Board of Trustees. 25 colleagues and universities rescinded the honorary degrees previously awarded to Cosby. Reruns of The Cosby Show and other shows where he was featured were terminated. In a decade-long saga, Bill Cosby fell from America's dad to a disgraced former star. Despite the deluge of allegations against him, he has always maintained his innocence, claiming that he never engaged in non-consensual relations with any woman. So, who is telling the truth? Could over 60 women who are seemingly unconnected be lying about being assaulted by one man? On the other hand, could a thriving, friendly, gentle man such as Bill Cosby have committed all the crimes he is accused of? We may never know the truth, but we have facts, and those facts say Bill Cosby went to prison for sexual assault. Click here to see more actors who ruined their careers.
Honestly, I still feel like it's cap. I feel like the whole motive was to just tear down his career and his connections that he had to make him look like a bad person. So it'd be hard for people to want to like fuck with him again. I don't know. Let me know how y'all feel in the comment section about this whole situation. That being said, love is love. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to catch you on the next video.